On October 22nd, 2008, Robert Delaney was the victim of a shooting in his home in Tallaght.
17 years on from that attack, his family are speaking out in a new podcast. This is Robert with the Irish Sun.
Here to share their story with us are Robert's father, Terry, and his daughter, Katie. Thank you both so much for joining us on the show today. It's hard to believe, Terry, it's been 17 years since this has happened.
Flown past, but the memories are still strong.
Yeah. Tell us what Robert was like before this happened and the days and weeks leading up to this attack.
Well, as a young lad, he was growing up here, just up the road here in Tallaght. He had an ideal lifestyle, you know. He loved the sports, and we lived near the Tallaght Community Complex, so he was forever in there. Then his dream came true when they built the basketball arena, because he loved basketball. And he struck up a great relationship with one of the coaches there, an American. So he loved the sport and so on. Mm-hmm. And so as a young lad, like great little kid growing up, never gave us an ounce of bother.
Mm. And Katie, this is your first television appearance, so thank you for coming on the show this morning. You were 17 months old when this terrible tragedy occurred. So do you depend on other people's stories for memories of your dad, or do you have anything that you can recall?
Basically just what everyone else tells me. I wouldn't remember anything.
Mm-hmm. Mm. So I suppose, and it is hard to think it's so many years since, because you were so young when that happened, and you have a sister as well, I believe.
Yeah, I have an older sister.
Yeah, and so the whole family fractured by this, Terry. What were the events actually leading up to the attack, and how is your understanding of what actually happened, Terry?
Well, in the summer of 2008, Robert was out for a drink with a couple of pals, and when they came out of the pub, they came across a young lad there was a person inflicting a beating on him. Robert intervened, hit the assailant and sorted things out and went off about his business. But the problem was that it emerged then in the weeks in the aftermath of that event that the guy concerned, the person whom Robert hit, was the son of a local criminal. And Robert began to hear stories that this guy was out to get him and so on. Now, I hasten to add, Robert was a very quiet lad, so we knew nothing about this, myself, my wife. But in any event, he began taking precautions for his own safety. But he then took an initiative and he went and met the criminal. And he said he was sorry, explained the circumstances, and the criminal told him it was okay, don't worry about it.
So this wasn't the person he hit, this was the father
of the person whom he hit. So the Gardaí told us Robert was very naive, that this criminal was never going to let this go. His ego had been bruised, and he was always determined to get Robert, because to do otherwise would have meant that his reputation in the criminal community would have somehow been diminished. So Robert then got back to normal. Again, we didn't know anything about this, but his pals told us he started going out a bit more and so on. Then in October 2008, Robert worked as a postman at the time. He had changed shifts. He was due in at 6 a.m. He changed shifts that day, not due in till later. The doorbell rang. He lived in a first-floor apartment, and when he looked out to see who was ringing the bell at that hour in the morning, he was blasted with a shotgun. So the criminal had taken his revenge.
OK, had he taken his revenge, or had he sent somebody to take it?
He had sent somebody. He had paid the word on the ground is the guy was paid €10,000 to do it.
God almighty, €10,000 for absolutely ruining a life is just beggars belief. That night, what can you... obviously, you were too young to remember anything about it. Terry, what can you remember what happened that night and when you were told about what transpired?
Well, we got a phone call at very early in the morning, immediately after the shooting. The ambulance came for Robert and so on. So we got a phone call to say he was in Tallaght Hospital. Myself and my wife went up. Obviously, we hadn't a clue what was going on. The only thing we heard was Robert had been shot. So when we arrived in Tallaght Hospital, it was fairly evident that this was extremely serious. The guards were there in big numbers, and the medical team. So we got engaged with the medical team fairly early and said, look, how bad is this? And they said, it's very bad. He said he's lost the sight. The pellets have taken out his sight. We're now going to do some work on his brain. So they came back to us later then to say, look, they were only able to remove a small number of pellets, but they were 12 pellets still lodged in his brain, and it was inoperable. So the Gardaí then, who have been brilliant with us throughout all of this, explained to us what happened, you know, the shooting and so on. So that was basically it. Later on that day, Robert was moved to the ICU, and we were told to go in and say our goodbyes. He wasn't going to make it. But he has.
He has, but he's in a vegetative state.
He's in what's known as, he's in a permanent vegetative state. It's known as the living death, where all your organs of your body function normally. You are not dependent on any machines to keep you alive. And if you saw Robert today, you'd look at him in the bed, you'd say there's a fine, healthy young lad, but he has no way of communicating. What they described, the surgeons described to us as catastrophic brain injuries.
I suppose, Katie, no words can describe what's been taken from you, really. What's it like now when you go see your dad or you visit him? Can you explain to our viewers what's been taken from you, I guess?
It's harder for me because everyone else has their memories of my dad, and I'm just kind of basing on what he's like now. It's hard not knowing what your dad's voice sounds like, or getting a hug off him, or kiss, or hearing how proud he is of you. It's just, it's different.
Yeah.
Because as my sister would have got all of that, I wouldn't.
Yeah, and like milestones that he's not aware of. Like you recently turned 18, I believe.
Yeah.
So all these things that you'll never have, that people don't seem to realise that other people take for granted.
Yeah, it's harder when your friends are giving out about their dads, and I got into a fight with my dad, and you would give anything to have one silly little argument with yours.
Yeah, yeah. Like you visit him and
Yeah.
you talk with him, and of course there's, unfortunately he can't respond back to you. So, but you've made this podcast.
Yeah.
So what has this been like, recording this podcast? Is it almost like therapeutic for you that you're able to sit down and talk about your dad?
Not so much. It's harder as you get older, but I think it's best to talk about it, because if I don't, then I'm bundling it all up and it'll just eat me. And I think so it's best to speak out and hopefully get some sort of justice for what's happening.
Because that's what you want. You want justice for what's been taken from you. And there's still a reward, isn't there, for information leading to an arrest on this. Like, there's going to be people watching this that probably know who did it, what happened, and can lead the guards to the right place. What would you say to them?
Like, if you just know anything whatsoever, just say something. Because it's not fair. Imagine this was one of your family members or your dad, or it's hard. So if you do know anything, just speak out and help us.
Terry, I remember speaking with you many years ago on a previous show, the morning show, and this was a recent occurrence, and here we are 17 years later. So is it people's silence that's preventing justice being served?
I think there's a combination of factors. I think probably misguided loyalty towards the criminal concerned. In the early stages, I think there was a fear factor because there was a dissident Republican element involved in this. The criminal concerned had links with that group. But we have put up a €20,000 reward for information that will lead to the conviction of this criminal. And we're hoping that after all these years, people would realise that the fear factor where distant republics are concerned no longer exists. And I even think that even by their standards, so to speak, the shooting of Robert crossed the line. The feedback we're getting, got on the ground and continue to get, is this guy is isolated, we don't have anything to do with him. Shooting a postman, you know, that's not on by their standards. So we're just hoping that, you know, somebody will come forward. The Gardaí will tell us that they have investigated cases over many, many years, and something crops up, which is the key. The Gardaí always say to us, this is like putting a jigsaw together. We've everything in place. We just need one or two more parts, and we've got it. We know the circumstances. We know everything. They've arrested these people on 2 occasions, but we just need that little bit of information now to get it over the line. So, you know, family loyalties change, things change over the years, And if they don't do it for their conscience, maybe they'll do it for their pocket.
Wow.
Which is damning, really, that if someone needs to be brought to justice for what they did, I mean, anything, I suppose, anything that can be said or done to help can be done now, hopefully.
Yeah.
Terry, it's tough. I know Robert has become a granddad.
He has indeed, yeah, Harry. That's one of the difficult parts about it. Like, you know, life moves on, life goes on, but they say time is a great healer, but in our case it's not. It can't heal. And you're looking now at all the things he's missing. Katie, Megan growing up, and his grandson Harry, who happens to be the image of him when Robert was younger. And you know, he'll be up in the house today, they all will, his 3 nephews. He's missing all of that. And that's very, very hard.
Of course. And listen, we wish you all the best, and hopefully out of this podcast and this interview, someone will come forward with information. Thank you both so much for joining us on the show.
You're very kind.
Both
Thank
Terry
you.
and Katie. Thank you.